Hello, I'm Colin Daly of Campbell Scientific. Today I'm joined by Barb Utley, an application specialist here in Logan, Utah. She is one of our water quality experts specializing in automated water samplers and monitoring system. She's going to walk us through setting up SDI-12 control of the VSC100 that is a component of our 5000 series vacuum sampler. This will allow a data logger to communicate with and control the sampler. Let's get started.
Thanks, Colin. Today we are going to step through the quick deploy guide for the PVS 5120. Specifically, we're going to go through the steps of physical deployment once you're in the field, and then scenario B on the guide is the SDI-12 control of the sampler. So first we're going to take the lid off the sampler. The first thing we're going to do is adjust our volume control rod to match the volume you want to keep in your sample bottle. And we do that by loosening the nut at the top and then moving it up and down within the metering chamber to set the level of the volume you want to keep. So in this example, I want to keep roughly 300 milliliters, and I can see that here on the graduated cylinder. So I'm going to tighten the top nut down. Good and tight. So if the exact volume is very important, 410 milliliters won't work if you have it set at 400. You need to collect the sample before you leave the building and check it for its accuracy, and then tighten down the brass nut because it will reliably collect the same volume over and over and over again within 1%. But if you have it set at 450 milliliters when you want 400, you will think, oh no, I'm continually getting the wrong volume. The next step is going to actually be to set our conductivity rod, the smaller of the two. When water is brought into the intake tube and into the chamber, it's coming in as turbulent flow. So it is helpful if you have at least a ½ inch offset between the bottom of your volume control rod and the bottom of your conductivity rod. This will make sure you do not short your volume. So once you've adjusted your conductivity rod, the next step is to connect the battery lead to the top of the conductivity rod. The next step is going to be to connect your battery. When you're ordering your sampler, you have the option of choosing an internal battery, either a 7 amp hour or a 17 amp hour, or an external power supply. Today we're going to be using the 7 amp hour battery. If you've chosen the 17 amp hour, the bracket here looks a little bit different. But the steps are still the same. We are going to connect the fuse caps together and then connect the leads to the battery itself. And then the positive. Once you have power connected, you can power up the sampler. If you are using an external battery, you connect the external power cable here at this port. And then you switch the power switch to the right for external power. Since we're using the 7 amp hour internal battery, we're going to switch it to the left. We're going to see the red light flash and then the green light come on and hold on for roughly 3 or 4 seconds. And then it's going to start pulsing and blinking once a second. Now you are free to continue interacting with the sampler because it has loaded all of its settings from the flash. Now that we have the battery connected and the sampler powered up, the last step is to connect your intake hose. You need to put the bottom of your hose, whether it has the lead sinker or the strainer, in your water body, offset it from the bottom of the water body just a little bit. This is a powerful pump and we don't necessarily want to be biasing the samples with heavy sediment loads because you've deployed it in the bottom of your water body. So secure the bottom of your hose and then connect it to the volume control rod. You do want to make sure you tighten your clamp down. Good and tight. Okay. Now our sampler is ready to collect a sample. A good first step, you're at a new site, you've never put a sampler out here, you're not exactly sure what your purge time or vacuum time should be, is to run the auto deploy routine. And we do this by pushing and holding the manual control button. When we run the routine, this will monitor and calculate the purge time, the vacuum time, and the sample drop time for you. And we'll talk more about those in a minute. But we're going to push and hold the button until the sampler starts to run. The sampler is going to purge the line for 2 minutes. Regardless of how far you are from your water body, this first section is going to purge for 2 minutes. So after the 2 minutes, this sampler is going to switch to pump. And so we've seen the water pull in. It's going to purge out to the bottom of your volume control rod. Once it's purged, it's going to drop the sample into the water bottle inside the sampler. Once you hear it click, the distribution arm has moved from bottle position 1 to bottle position 2. So we've now set all of our purge times, vacuum times, but the sampler is thinking, hey, I've collected my first sample. I'm now on bottle 2. If you do not want this sample to remain in your sampler, it's not part of your storm event, it's not on the time schedule that you would like, you need to open up the sampler and throw out that sample and either put a clean bottle back in or just replace the bottle. So we're going to open the sampler up. So first we're going to take off the T-bar and pull the plate out. And then we're going to pull out bottle number 1. So as you can tell, it's about 2/3 of the way full. When we put the bottles back in, we want to make sure they're in good and tight and pushed to the outside of the sampler. And then put the T-bar back in place. And you can put the lid back on your sampler. So we've emptied our bottles, but the sampler still thinks, I'm on bottle number 2. So we need to do another function for the manual control button, which is servicing the sampler. By pushing and releasing the manual control button, you tell the sampler, it's empty, go back to spot 1. And you'll hear your arm move all the way back around to the home position at bottle 1.